Welcome, everybody. This is the 70th episode of Preston Jensen's podcast. And as you can see, it is only me tonight. As it so happens, Preston is sick this week, and so I am filling in. And for those of you that are new to the channel or new to the podcast, I am Chelsey, and I am Preston's wife. If you've listened to us before, I've been on a few different episodes, and I do think just a couple episodes ago, Preston even asked me, would I ever do a podcast by myself? This is a lot sooner than I expected that to happen, but like I said, he's not feeling his best, so here I am, and you get to enjoy me for the 70th episode. So again, for those of you who don't know me, I am a first grade teacher, and so I thought I would talk about some apps that I think have been really beneficial in my classroom. And I hope that you enjoy this. I hope that you learn something from it. And these are things that I would recommend to families. If you have children at home, that just would be great learning tools for them to use. First one I'm going to talk about is Seesaw. And I know I've been on here before and we've talked about Seesaw. Some of this might be stuff that you've heard. Some of it might be new. I'm just not quite sure what all I've shared about it before. But just to start off, I know I've mentioned before that there's a couple different apps for Seesaw. And Seesaw is, I can't explain like how great of it's just a great well-rounded tool to use in the classroom. I use it every single day. It's great for communicating with families. It's great for pushing out activities, having students complete different things, and it's just provided me with so much feedback in my classroom that I never really expected to have. So again, there's a family app, there's a class app. There's two different apps, completely free. And the one that I use in my classroom is called a class app. And so many schools and teachers had to utilize these when COVID first hit and we were forced to teach from home and kids were forced to, learn from home. So we got to be pretty good at learning how to use a lot of these things. And so sorry. So these are things that I got to learn just in the last couple of years, but I've really tried to utilize them every single day in my classroom. And before I really get into these apps, something that I want to mention is at my level, at first grade, at my school that I've been in, we've had access to iPads before. And, in my grade level, we'd have like an iPad cart where we'd all choose a day and we'd get to you plan to use the iPads for that day. So we could plan certain activities, but I would only be able to do it like on a Thursday. I didn't have enough iPads for all my kids on any other day but that one day. So now this is the first year that we have iPads in our classroom for every single child. And not only that, do I have a classroom set of iPads, I have iPads assigned to each student. So anything that they sign into, any apps that we set up, it stays in their account, which is really nice. If you're at the first grade level, it's a big challenge at times to teach them logging in, logging out, just even typing. They don't have the keyboarding skills that older kids may have. So we have these two different apps. We have the class app, we have the family app. The family app is for communication, which is amazing. It offers so much. I mean, I'm able to turn on notifications. So, it's like I receive a text from families. And I do tell my families, if I don't respond back, which I'm really good about usually responding back if I see the message. But, things happen at school. You get busy with something, you just don't have time. I always say, if you need me to either contact the school or try and email me if it's something like, oh, I need to know it this day. Like I'm picking up my child or something like that. But anyway, so I can get notifications instantly if they have questions about things, and it just pops up on like my tablet or my phone as like a text message or into my account. And so it's just really user friendly. It's even better than email. Really, really nice communication between me and families. Another thing is I can send out announcements. I can send out to just my students. I can send out announcements to just my families. I can send out announcements to both. And so a lot of times what I do, every Friday in first grade, we send out a newsletter. And so I used to always send home a hard copy of this. And, it's just more paper for parents to keep track of. And it's something that they glance at and then they want to get rid of it, or they lose it or it just doesn't make it home, because things like that happens. And so I started I still create my newsletters like I normally do, but I just push it out on Seesaw instead. And so their parents have a digital copy. They can still just glance through it. Doesn't take up any space on their phone. If there's something that like, oh, I forgot the date or the time or what were we doing on this day or for what, parents can go back and access those. So it's way, way more, it's way more friendly for families. And one other thing with the family app is anytime I have a student complete like an activity or just do something that I want to approve, and once I approve it, it's pushed out so that parents can see what their kids have been working on. So I'm not going to go into all these different activities that we do on Seesaw, but through the class app, I am able to either access already created activities from other teachers, or I'm able to create my own. And so, for example, these younger grades, we always do a calendar time. And I'm sure most people know what that is. We work on our days of the week, our months of the year, and calendar stuff, and how many days we've been in school, that kind of stuff. And it's just a really nice repetitive practice every morning, kind of just start our day. And so this year, this is the first time that I've tried it, is I wanted to create a digital calendar, which I have used for like the last 5 years, a digital calendar, but I wanted to do one on Seesaw so that I could assign it to whoever my helper was that day. And then the helper would complete it, because I like for them to be independent, and I like for my calendar helpers to actually kind of be the teacher. So like I can sit back, I can kind of help with what we're working through, but they get to lead, and they just feel that sense of pride in being able to be in charge. So they get to have their iPad, and they get to have the Seesaw, and it's projected up onto my TV or mirrored onto my TV, and they get to call on students to help them answer different questions. And so then once they complete this calendar, they click this green check mark, it's sent back to me. I'm able to approve it immediately, and it is sent to their parents so their parents can see what they do during calendar time, and their parents can see that they've been taking charge and that what they're getting to do during that time. And so I just really love how, this has just been the best. Like I can for sure say this is my favorite year that I've done calendar, and we're only about, 4 or 5 weeks into school. But I can already tell that it's something that it's so beneficial, and my kids are excited to be the helper and just to lead everybody in that. And so that's just one example of like how you can take something that you do all the time and you can utilize this app. There's just so many different things. And again, I'm not going to get into everything. I know I've talked about some things before. I do want to get into a few other apps that I don't believe I've ever mentioned. But yeah, so this is an app that I highly recommend. One thing I will say is there is a free version of this app of Seesaw. And it's not just an app for my iPad. You have your account online. So like I can access my account on my phone, on my iPad, on my computer. And for the most part, the interface all looks the same. And it's very user-friendly. And so I can access it from anywhere. And so like I said, there is a free version, but you are kind of limited in some of those things that you might get. So some things I mentioned you might not get if you have just the free version. So before our district started paying for it, because our district does the Seesaw for schools. And so they pay a fee, and then our K through 5 grades access Seesaw, and so that all our families, everybody is just on one same communication device, or LMS. And so before we got that paid version, I applied to be a Seesaw ambassador. And so a Seesaw ambassador is just someone that they kind of get to know any new things that might be coming out with Seesaw. We have to do a yearly training, an online training. They like us to provide PD for people in our district just to keep them up on what's happening in Seesaw. And so I did that, and then we did the Seesaw for School. So if you do the Seesaw for School, you get a lot of the same, I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't. But you get a lot of the same things that you can do in the app. It's just I might get like more of an insight into what it actually does or anything new coming out. So I highly recommend it. And another thing that I really like, especially with the Seesaw for Schools, like I said, we wanted to have something that K through 5 we were all using. There's so many different communication apps out there for people to use, and Seesaw provides more than just communication for families. It like I said, it has those activity components, all that kind of stuff. We didn't want families to have to deal with like, oh, you need this app and this app and this app. Even though they might be good, it's just easier for families to have one. And then once they get it for their kindergartner, then they just know how it's run each year they progress through school. And the thing is, when kids are signed up for it, it's it follows them, their account, their library, their files. They kind of just follow them so they can access their account and how things have progressed from kindergarten to 5th grade. So moving on. So I have a few different apps, and I know there are so many out there. There's other apps that I have or that we have on our iPads at school. But these are 3 that I've really dived into that I know that my 1st graders love it. And so if you're listening to this, if you're someone that has school-age children, or you're a teacher or anything like that, if you have any experience with these apps or with other apps that you think, oh, you should be using this because I think your students would really benefit from it, please share it. Please share your ideas, your comments, or your thoughts on this, and if you have other ideas for different apps. So one that we've started, and we started it, I wonder if we've had it. I think we had it all last year on those on the iPads we'd get for like a day every week. But it's called Teach Your Monster to Read. So with Teach Your Monster to Read, the app is a paid app. I want to say it, it's probably like $4 or $5. If you don't use the app and you go on a browser on a computer, you can access it for free, which is really cool. But you can't go on a browser on like a tablet because it knows, no, you have to have the app. So, but I will say hands down, at least for 1st grade, I have not used these apps for other grades. So I don't know, if it would suck all these kids in like it does my 1st graders, but hands down, Teach Your Monster to Read is their favorite app to do. If I say we have free time, they're on Teach Your Monster to Read. And I just did this, a few weeks ago where I introduced it to my kids, and I said, this will be your favorite app this year. I promise you. And it is for sure. If I ever say you can do Teach Your Monster to Read, cheers all around. I have an account, and I put my kids into this account, and then I give them a login. And like I said, it's super slick because the Teach Your Monster to Read login can be kind of long. It's like they have their name in a box, they have their password in a box, and then they have like our class number code in a box. So there's like 3 different things they have to remember to log in. But now that they have their own iPad, just keeps them logged in. So that's great. And really what it is they get to create this monster and they just go through different games and they're learning and they don't even like realize like how fun it is. But there's all these things. And I'm kind of one of those people that I love for my kids to just play and figure things out. I don't want to be the one that always has to tell them, oh, you have to do this. You have to do this. A lot of times, if a kid comes up with a question and there's not something wrong with the app or the iPad or something like that, I'll just say, you know what, you got to keep playing around with it until you figure it out. And so I feel like that's the best thing, is kind of like trial by error. And they're all able to do it and they just love it. And they just figure out how to play this game themselves. Now, I haven't personally played it a ton, so I do know that it works on different skills with them and different reading things, but I just know that this is definitely like top app that's on our iPad, and like I said, if there's ever free time, this is the thing they want to play. Another app that has really helped in my classroom is called Khan Kids, and a lot of people have probably heard about Khan Academy, and they have such a wide range and such a huge age level range of things that they provide. And I'm not like 1,000,000% positive on this, but I have a sister that's in college and she's becoming a teacher as well. And in North Dakota, you have to take these praxis tests to get your teaching license. And I'm pretty sure she has said that Khan Academy provides like things to study for, resources to study for the praxis for free. And so that's what it is it's this app that provides different learning topics for you to have your kids do. So again, I have an account. I create accounts for my kids through me. And then I'm either able to let them play. Like sometimes I might just say, just go on Khan Kids. I just want you to play. So they'll log in and they just push this play button and they play whatever it says to do. But I am also on my end able to access different reading or math skills that are aligned with different standards or different things that we are learning about. And I am able to actually assign activities to learn. So for example, beginning of first grade, we're learning about numbers and how to write the numbers, or just numbers 1 through 5, 1 through 10. I'm able to find an activity and push it out to them. And then I'm able to get that feedback. So I can say, you have a couple activities in Khan Academy to do, or Khan Kids to do. So you need to go do that. They can complete it for me. I can see who's completed it and I can see how well they're doing. So it's a great, great tool for feedback if there's certain things that you're looking for. So I've really appreciated that one. That's one that I got into last year. And again, having iPads every day really allows me the opportunity to explore like everything that I can do with these apps and how I can utilize them more in the classroom. Because sometimes, in first grade, it is still so important. Let me stress this. It is still so important to be doing stuff with paper and pencil and crayons and markers and learning that stuff because they need to have those fine motor skills. But sometimes just to break up what we're doing, to know that they can go do these activities as well and still be learning helps a lot. It just kind of adds to what we're doing. And the last one I'm going to talk about is Epic. And Epic's kind of a tricky one. It's just an app with books. And it's so great. There are some little videos, I think, on like building things or creating things, that kind of stuff too. But it's stuff that kids either read or are read to. And it's a really great tool. Now, something that's a little bit confusing for families. So when we first had the COVID outbreak, we were able to send home like, here's our code for Epic, and then they can fit in their name and then then they can access all these books. And I always have my kids, there's certain books that are read to them. So I always have them, especially at this age and this stage in first grade, I have them pick books that are read to them. Because otherwise I'll have kids that just sit there and they just have no idea what's going on yet, because we haven't learned all of those skills that we need to decipher words and how to read the stories. Some kids might, but for the most part, we're just learning that stuff. And so when COVID first happened, we sent all that information home so families could access Epic and they could do this stuff at home, which was fabulous. That's such a great tool to use. Well, the thing with Epic is the reason that we're able to access it and we're not having to pay like a subscription for it is because you can only access it during school hours. And I'm not exactly sure, like what the reasoning is. I mean, it works great for us because we're only at school during school hours. And so I did have families, last year that would contact me and say, oh, we can't get on Epic. Like we wanted to do it after school or we wanted to do it on the weekend. And it was such a great thing to do the week before or a year before. And so then it's, I'm sorry, it's not even something that I don't even send my code home with anymore, because when you're at school, that's when you'll do it. Now, let's say if I were to have a kid gone for a long period of time, let's say they were quarantined or sick for something or gone for something, I would probably send that code. So if they wanted to access those books, then they could do that during their time away. But for the most part right now, I mean, I've had all my kids in my class. I haven't had anybody gone for an extended period of time. So I just keep that code to myself right now. And it's not a huge deal if I did send it home and they had it, because it will only work during the school hours, I believe just during the week. So there, now that you've listened to me talk for a little while, and again, if it's your first time joining us, this is probably a way different podcast than what you were expecting, because you're probably expecting Preston and him to talk about things that he talks about. And like I said, he has had me on the show where we've talked a little bit about what I do or what I experience with Seesaw or different apps. But I wanted to just share this little part of my daily life with you guys. And like I said, if you have any ideas for other apps that would be great to have, or any comments or thoughts about what I've shared, please feel free and let us know. But otherwise, thank you for joining me for the 70th episode of Preston Jensen's podcast. And I am sure he will be back next week. So yeah, thank you so much and have a great night.